how I found out my husband was cheating on me and had a boyfriend.
Buckle up.
Oh, hold on. I'm not buckled. We good?
So it was in December, and my husband was the music director at his church, where his father was also the pastor. He was at the church doing rehearsal for the Christmas musical, and I was at home. During that time, he was not staying at our house. He had like left and just never came back. Like he left in October, never came home. That's a whole nother story for another day.
I feel like we might want to talk about that because that is screaming a red flag.
We can talk about that if you want to later. Anyway, so he was doing that. I was at home. I saw a message in my social media from somebody that I didn't know. It was sent a month prior, but for some reason I didn't get it. So I finally saw it. It said something to the effect of, please tell your husband to stop harassing us. And I was like, what the hell is this about? I don't understand. So I asked this person, what are you talking about? They tell me everything. You know, my husband's been harassing them and their friend, and my husband also has a boyfriend. Proceed to give me all the information as well as video of my husband and his boyfriend. So then I start calling all my friends.
Video of what though? Maybe it's a little personal.
I'm telling them he's cheating on me. That's what it is, aside from, you know, his abuse. But I digress. I'm like, he's cheating on me, blah, blah, blah. One of my friends comes over and is like, it's okay, girl, I got you. Then I go down to the church and confront him.
Let me tell you, I am already a fish on the hook. You have me.
All right, so part 2. So I get to the church around the time rehearsal is ending, and I talk to him. A mutual friend of ours who went to the church came with me to, you know, just be there for moral support. So I say to my husband, I'm like, hey, can we talk? And he kind of rolls his eyes. He's like, bitch, I don't want to talk to you. But he does anyway. So we go into the church office, and I say to him, you know we've been having some difficulty in our marriage lately. But, you know, I got this video and, you know, you're calling this guy babe. And I show him the video and he's like, oh, we're just messing around. And I was like, I know you don't mess around like that. And then he proceeds to start, you know, getting mad, yelling at me, basically calling me a dog, telling our mutual friend to put a muzzle on me. At this time, the
amount of red flags I have seen in the 4 minutes, it's not even 4 minutes. We're about 3 minutes in.
Father-in-law, the pastor, walks into the office, starts making copies and for whatever reason, as my husband is like upset and yelling at me, right? And so his dad's like, just talk to her. But obviously he's, you know, super upset at this point that I have found out everything about him. So then he, you know, leaves, and then that's when I just totally lose my shit, and I just like fall down, and I'm like, I lost my husband. Like I could not even like I couldn't even really stand up. So yeah, I was like, I lost my husband. I was just like, call your therapist. So I called my therapist and I left him a message, and then he called me back and he was like setting up an appointment with me for the next day. And I text my brother-in-law and I was like, you know, your brother has been cheating on me and he has a boyfriend, and you probably already knew this. And that's another story for another day as well. There's a lot with that. And I forgot to mention, my father-in-law knew that my husband was cheating on me for a year.
And all this is going down in the place of God. Oh, Jesus, take that wheel. Take that wheel, because I would burn the place down.
So why did he leave? I'm going to try to condense this one, but it's kind of long. So I'm going to rewind all the way back to around April. We had been arguing a lot. Mind you, he was gaslighting me, very emotionally, verbally abusive. So like every single time I brought something to his attention, it was a fight. So I was like just fed up at that point. And I was like, we got to figure this out. So I told him, I think we need to separate for a minute. Not like separate, we're getting divorced, separate like, you know, you go sleep at your mom's house for a little bit, for a week or something.
Oh my God, this is like the biggest debate of Friends history.
We were on a break!
Whose side are you on for that, by the way? I won't judge. Everyone has a mixed opinion on that. If you're a Friends fan, talk to me in the comments. I'll be in there looking for what you got to say.
Not even a week, a couple days. Get our heads on straight, come back home, get our together. Well, he does that and doesn't come home for a month until the day before our anniversary. And again, you might be asking, like, he didn't come home, like you didn't make him come home. No, I couldn't. He was abusive. You can't make an abusive person do anything. Anyway, so all of that happens. Fast forward, nothing really gets better over the months. We're having like money problems, like he's overdrafting accounts, all this crazy shit. One of the days I talk to his mom and I just tell her like, you know, things are really rough, and she's like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm just worried that it's actually worse than what you're saying. And 2020 vision, I'm looking back now, and honestly, I think she had an idea of what was going on, because her comment came out of nowhere. It was like, I think it's something worse. And at the time I was like, what worse? What worse? So he ends up losing one of his jobs. He worked like multiple because like a new boss came in, but that doesn't really matter to the story. Fast forward, it's now October, and we're still like, it's still not good. He's coming home super late. He's coming home at like 10 p.m. But I can't ask him about it. He'll get mad at me. He would just start a fight every single time.
So there's just a lot of issues in this marriage in general. And I respect that she's being so open and honest, because it's not easy to admit when your relationship is struggling. That's a really hard thing. There's a lot more to this than just somebody cheating.
Not come home till 2, 3 a.m. after he fights with me. And it was this one particular night in which I went out with a friend, accidentally left my phone in the Uber, started calling him from her phone. He didn't answer. I finally get home after midnight and he's dead asleep in the bed. And I was like, turned the light on and I was like, I've been calling you. You don't even care, like, if I came home. You don't care if I'm safe. You're asleep in the bed. I should be home at this hour and you don't even care where I am. So then he gets mad at me, starts a big old fight, leaves, doesn't come home for a while, and I was just done with that.
Oh, man.
So the next day I left and I went to my friend's house, and my friend lived like an hour or so away. I stayed there for a little bit. So while I'm at my friend's house, he ends up overdrafting our accounts. So I say, hey, can you put your money in? Can you put your checks in so that we're not overdrafted? And he ends up leaving me with $1.12 between the two accounts that we had. There was no money in the accounts to pay our bills.
$1? You literally can't do anything for $1. You can't even take a breath of fresh air for $1 these days.
And our bills were due. And he did this partly because he was getting back at me, because the night before he had said that he went out and he went to go visit one of his friends. This friend was a friend that he did paraphernalia with when he was younger. When he had told me, I was like, that's the drug friend. And when I said that, he acted like he was all offended. So he ended up leaving me with no money to pay our bills. So I ended up calling up his mom and telling his mom what he did to me. And she's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So I end up...
There's a lot of toxic behavior going on here. Respectfully. You know, when you just see a relationship and you're like, ooh, toxic signs. Probably because we've all been in one. If you haven't, amen to you. You want a life, because I feel like a lot of people have gone through some kind and form of toxic relationship.
Going back down to where I lived to go talk to his parents after he did all of this. And that was a whole ordeal. But yeah, basically, I'm gonna have to put the talking to his parents story in a different video, because this is gonna be way too long. But after he left me with no money, I ended up staying at my friend's house for a few weeks. And then I finally go home and he still isn't staying at the house. He comes back because I asked him, like, I need your credit card so that I can pay the bills. I need to pay your credit card bills. He drops off his cards and he tells me he's not coming home. And from then on, he never came back.
I mean, is this even a marriage at this point? It doesn't even sound like you guys are together. I want to get to the point where we find out the parents know. I need more details on that. But first, you know what time it is. It's hydration station time. Let me know what's... Ooh, I forgot I filled it. That was heavier than I expected. Let me know what's in your cup, but I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to tell you, actually, drink water. It's good for you. Just take one sip. Just for me. Just for me. Cheers. I'm a little hyper today. That's a problem.
Okay, so this is adding on to the other video that I made about why he left. So he told me, I'm not coming home. And he never did, although he was supposed to. Like, he wasn't saying he was never coming home ever at all. He was just saying, I'm not ready to come home yet. But now I know he was cheating on me. He was staying at his boyfriend's house. That's why he never came home. And he ended up giving me his credit cards to pay the bills, but he never continued to help me pay the bills. Basically, from that moment on, he got an attitude and was not paying any bills. After he left me with $1.12 in our account, he was like, I'm not paying the rent. Mind you, we were renting a house from his parents, and he just stopped paying. And he stopped paying every single bill, or stopped helping me pay. And during that time, I also had gone and taken time off work. I was on disability because my mental health was so bad. And so I couldn't even take care of myself. I had to jump right back into finding another job because he left me in such a predicament. So also, when I went to go talk to his parents, when I had ended up coming back,
wouldn't his parents be like, boy, you need to pay us our rent. Get over there and pay your damn bills.
To where I lived. I went to the church to talk to both of his parents. I sat down and I told them everything, everything I could think of that had ever happened, all the horrible that he had done to me. I was bawling my eyes out, crying. And his dad was just like, oh yeah, that's financial abuse. That's unacceptable. We can't have that, yada, yada, yada. And his mom's solution was to help me pay some of the bills. And no accountability for their son. None. Zero accountability. I don't even think they talked to him about the that he did to me. But at the time I was like, okay, they're listening to me, they can help this turn a corner. And at this time, I didn't know he was cheating on me yet. But now I realize his parents are just enablers of his bad behavior.
I mean, at least you're getting help paying the bills.
And they bail him out of every single thing that he does. His dad didn't give a shit that he was abusing me. His dad didn't give a shit that he was financially abusing me, squandering all our fucking money. I told them, so I had gone to Disneyland, and while I was there with my friend, I was talking to his mom, and his mom was like, yeah, I gave him $60 because, he said that he was going to get you something, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, he didn't get me anything. So he had lied to his mother, asking her for $60, telling her he was getting me something, and he never got me anything. He just needed $60 to either buy alcohol, because at the time he was drinking very heavily, or my belief is that he relapsed. So he might have been getting the drugs.
Oh no. Or maybe he bought a gift for his other partner.
Part 3. So I confronted my husband, called my therapist, and told his brother, hey, I know you probably already knew he was cheating on me. I just sit on the floor. I sob, not even sobbing, wailing.
Oh,
my husband.
That's so sad.
I lost my husband. And just yelling out, crying out for Jesus.
Yes.
I finally mustered the strength to kind of stand up, and then...
Guys, words to live by. Jesus, take the wheel.
And my neighbor, who also went to the church, was there and was like, hey, we should probably pray for her. I'm bent over because I can't even stand. And my, father-in-law begrudgingly walks over to, pray for me and all this stuff.
People probably in my comments are thinking this. We should probably pray for her. I'm gonna say a prayer for Joss tonight. She's a little cuckoo bonkers. I think she needs some help.
I leave the church. My husband texts me, basically tells me it's my fault. Everything's my fault.
No, it's your fault.
He proceeds to call me a cunt. As he's telling me that it's my fault. He's like, you're a cunt and you did this. You were a terrible wife. And so since I knew that he was staying at his boyfriend's house,
Perfect.
I took a little drive over to his boyfriend's house to tell his boyfriend's mother that my husband was staying there. Because his boyfriend was 19, and at the time, my husband was damn near 30 years old.
Oh, hold on. Okay, this is a lot to take in here. Boyfriend's 19, husband's almost 30. You somehow know where this boyfriend lives. You roll up to his house and tell his mother what's going on. This is like a TV plot.
So I was like, yeah, that's weird, that's inappropriate, and no. So by that time it was like midnight. I went a knocking. I knocked on that woman's door, and I didn't care. I was like, somebody about to answer, because no. I was like, hey, is this your son? Is this his name? And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, well, I just wanted to let you know that your son is dating my husband, who is just about 30 years old. He was like 29. Damn near 30, gosh. Okay? And he has been sneaking into your house and staying here. And then apparently my husband was there. He was like, I don't know, staking out around the corner or something like that, because he texted me and was all pissed off at me for doing that.
The way I would have been hiding in those bushes just to hear that conversation. I would buy a ticket to put me in the bush in front of that house, because I want to be there for that conversation so bad.
After that, my friend drives me to her house because she didn't want me to stay alone, obviously. So she drives me to her house, and I stay at her house. She ends up calling my boss, because she was like, she used to work at the same place I just got a job at. And she told my boss what happened, and told them, I wasn't coming into work. Oh, and mind you, his grandma had just died. So like, she had passed away like a few weeks to a month before I found out. And we had just had her services like 5 or 6 days before I found out that he was cheating on me.
Oh,
the whole thing with his grandma, oh my God, there's so much.
I love that this girl's just like chilling in her bed, giving us the whole story. This must have been before TikTok allowed the 10-minute videos.
Okay, so part 4.
She got out of bed.
Salt this really quick. Oh, that's the wrong way. Okay. So, part 4. So as I said, his grandmother passed away. And when that happened, he was not at the hospital. So she was, she was very old. She was like in her 90s, and she was in hospice. And so I stayed at the hospital because I was like, they said she was going to pass away, so I'm not leaving, because I loved her. Like, she was everything to me. So anyway, so I stayed. I had to call him to tell him that his grandmother passed away.
Oh, no.
So now we are now at her homegoing services, and he had an orchestra play there because his entire family is very into music. His mom, his dad, and both of his brothers, they're all musicians. So they had an orchestra. Well, guess who was in the orchestra? Yeah.
Boyfriend.
His boyfriend was in the orchestra.
Oh.
And I found out about this because I ended up like seeing the program that they had.
So little did you know, you're at his grandmother's homegoing services. Your husband's been cheating on you. You don't know yet. And his mister is in the orchestra. Like, you guys are just in the same room all together and you have no idea. At a funeral. You can't make this shit up.
So this man was literally doing all this stuff in front of everybody, thinking that they wouldn't know. Because also, when he did the Christmas musical, his boyfriend was also in the Christmas musical in the orchestra. So let's fast forward to Christmas. Like I said, his boyfriend was in the Christmas musical. At the time, I didn't know until, again, seeing the program. But now I'm going to pause really quick before I continue to say more things. I was young. I didn't understand a lot of things. And I was also very, very, very evangelical. And this plays into why I did what I did.
I have no idea where this is about to go.
Okay. He was doing the musical, and it was a weekend long thing. And he had a prop that he needed that was at our house, and I brought it to the church. Should I have done that? No. Like, duh, me now? Absolutely not. but I was a dumb evangelical wife, okay? Anyway, I did that. Get to the church. His dad sees me. He's joking around with me like freaking 5 or 6 days ago. I didn't just, not even 5 or 6 days, maybe like a week and a half ago. I didn't, and find out that my husband was cheating on me, okay? And like that's what his family is like. So then Christmas Eve comes. I haven't heard from his mother since December 10th to Christmas Eve. Hadn't heard from her at all. She hits me up and she's like, oh, do you want some tamales? Because at the church there was a woman, or is a woman, who makes tamales every year for Christmas, and she sells them. And I was like, I don't want to talk to her, like, the hell? But, maybe she's throwing out an olive branch, she feels bad.
Well, screw that. Just take the tamales. Whatever is coming on that branch, if it's tamales, take the tamales.
So, I'll take it, whatever. So my brother-in-law comes and picks me up because at this time I could not drive. I was extremely sick, like so sick where I couldn't walk anywhere without having an asthma attack. I had to like sit up sleeping. I was on the phone with my friend at the time, and I was talking to her, and I had to stop talking. I was like, I have to get off the phone with you, like, I can't talk. And she came over, took me to the hospital, and I literally would have passed away if she did not take me to the hospital to get treatment.
Damn.
Anyway, that's how sick I was. So I couldn't drive anywhere. Plus, I was like, in my head, I couldn't, I was not there, okay? He came, he picked me up, I went to their house. I kid you not, I sit on their couch. They just watch Christmas movies. Nobody talked about what happened. Nothing.
Merry Christmas to me. Husband's cheating on me. But let's all watch The Grinch together.
So I'm sitting on the couch watching Christmas movies with them, like everything's fine.
Oh,
and I'm just sitting there, and I just start crying because I'm just like, what the f*** is happening here? And then before I leave, his mom comes over and like gives me a hug, and I just start bawling, and still nobody says anything to me. Nothing. Nobody talks about what the f*** just happened to me not too many days ago. That's the kind of family that he's in. So I go home and I don't hear from his family again 4 weeks, till the new year, till after the new year. And his mom asks me for rent. So leading up to me finding out that he had cheated on me, I was going to couples therapy with my husband, but then he wouldn't show up sometimes. He got mad at me one day, and we had therapy in the morning, and he just blatantly didn't show up. So I called his oldest brother, and I was like, hey, because he worked with his oldest brother at a school. And I was like, hey, whatever about your brother, like, can he have this day off so that we could go to therapy together? Because my husband's excuse was, oh, well, I have to be at work, blah, 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 blah. So his brother is like, he doesn't work on this day. So every single day, this particular day, I believe it was like Mondays, he would get up early in the morning as if he was going to work, and he was never actually going to work because he didn't work on that day. So I found that out. The
plot thickens. We are in quicksand right now. That is how thick this plot is.
When he wasn't staying at the house anymore during that like October to December time, that oldest brother was like, hey, come, stay at my house for some time, yada yada. At the time, like, I'm just going through it. I'm sad, I'm depressed, all of this stuff. So I was like, well, it would be nice to stay with, family, what I thought, right? Just whatever. Even though, it was kind of weird, but whatever. I'll stay with you. So I did. And that's important. Okay, that's important to the story that I stayed with him. So, fast forward again. Now it's December. I found out he cheated on me, all this stuff. The night that I found out that he had cheated on me, he calls me. So I leave the church. I go to my friend's house to stay with her for that night because that was a devastating night. And he calls me or texts me in the middle of the night and is like, basically like, I have something to tell you. do you have to report like things, and like you better not tell anybody, right? And I was like, what? Because yeah, like it was just crazy. So anyway, he tells me all that. Then he tells me that he experienced some childhood trauma. Okay, this is the same night that I found out that he was cheating on me. And he tells me that he experienced some severe childhood trauma. Now, when I think back on it, that's what narcissists do. They have to become the victim. So now he's the bad guy in the story because he cheated on me. So everybody's going to see him as the villain. But now he has to become the victim. So he tells me that he had childhood trauma, which the childhood trauma was real. And I'm not knocking that. But it's the timing and how he did it. So he has to become the victim.
Yeah. He could have very real childhood trauma. Doesn't excuse the behavior. So the timing, I get, is suspicious.
And so, you know, he's my husband. Like, obviously I care. Like, that's awful. I can't believe that happened to him. And so with that, this whole thing ensues with his childhood trauma. He ends up telling his parents.
So maybe he was trying to tell you that to explain where his actions or behaviors are coming from? That's what I'm gathering from this.
What happened. He told a bunch of people at the church what happened to him.
Oh.
And his father's response was, I could lose my job as pastor at the church, be a Joseph, like Joseph in the Bible, and think of the consequences that could happen to this person. They could be an offender. Okay, they could go to jail and lose their job as well. That is what his father said to him when he told him and about his childhood trauma. And so this whole thing ensues, and there's an investigation that happens.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, like cops start coming to my house and everything.
Oh gosh. Ma'am, there are so many side stories to this one story. This is crazy.
Part 6. So yes, my father-in-law knew that he was cheating on me with a man. So the people who told me, it was my husband's boyfriend's ex-boyfriend. So it was the ex-boyfriend and the ex-boyfriend's best friend. They told me that he was cheating on me, okay? So my husband started harassing them, like sending them wild-ass messages, which they sent me. So I got to read all that shit. And they had went to his dad. They went to the church, met with his dad,
and
said, hey, your son is harassing us. Please tell him to stop. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about, whatever. And they're like, this is his boyfriend. And his dad was like, boyfriend, what? Blah, 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 blah. That was a year prior to me finding out.
Oh, a year? A year? So you just kept existing in this family of yours, people who are your in-laws, and they knew this information the whole time? Dad just probably didn't want to believe it. He was probably in denial a little bit.
Okay? So his dad knew. His dad went to my husband and asked him about it. And of course, my husband lied and was like, no, blah, blah, blah. Of course I don't have a boyfriend. But my father-in-law never told me that any of this happened. And I know this for sure happened because, one, these people told me, and then immediately after I stopped talking to them that night before I confronted my husband, I called my father-in-law and I said, I need you to tell me the truth. Did this happen? Did these people come and talk to you? Did you know this? And he said, yes. And then he said to me, the person who came and told me did not have a trustworthy name because he had a name that came out of the Bible of someone who, I guess wasn't that great of a person, I guess you could say.
Oh,
That's
God.
what this man said to me, okay?
Like, give me a break. That's why you didn't trust him? What kind of reason is that?
So yeah, that's the kind of person and kind of family that I've been dealing with. So now to continue on with cops coming to knock on my door. Well, The person that had inflicted the childhood trauma, I messaged that person, or they had messaged me. We were messaging, basically. And I said, did you do this to him? He said that you did, blah, blah, blah.
I don't know if you should have got involved in that.
They admitted to it on text message to
They
me.
admitted it?
So the cops were coming to knock on my door to ask me
Oh,
about it
no.
because I had the fucking evidence. So, if we think about this, from December 10th to the end of December, I am dealing with finding out that my husband cheated on me, had a boyfriend for a year. My father-in-law knew about it. And now I find out that he has experienced severe childhood trauma, and the person who did it has told me, yeah, that happened. And it's not my fault that he's gay. That is what the person said to me.
Oh, no.
Which, no. Like, I mean, you can't make somebody gay, but also the
Not laughing at the situation, just her. That is what's been going in my mind this entire time. The yeah, to this entire story.
And so part of the reason, honestly, I think that I was asked to stay at my brother-in-law's house was because the family in general knew that I was getting closer to finding things out. And like, they're a very, if you've seen Greenleaf, they're that type of family, like 100%. You know, keep things hush hush. This is between our family. You don't say nothing, whatever. Like, we will ride or die for our family secrets. That was them, and I am not about that life, and I think they wanted to keep an eye on me. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. So after he tells me all of that, you know, I'm laid up in the house sick. I ain't got no money to pay no bills. I also believe that he has relapsed on drugs, and I also know for sure that he is drinking very, very heavily. Like, he came and he was like, I'm an alcoholic. So I know that he's struggling with that, okay? Amongst the childhood trauma, okay? So I tried to go to the church and tell the church, like, hey, because they fired him because he was gay, okay? So he ain't got his old pastor job or music director job no more. But I go to the church to say, hey, like, his dad is being trash. His dad is not trying to, you know, help him through this trauma, okay? Secondly, he's not well.
Okay, bless you for still caring about his well-being, even though he did something very awful to you. I really respect that you're caring about his mental health, his struggle with addiction, his childhood trauma, and you're like, hey, as a person, I still care about him and his well-being.
Like, can y'all help him? Can y'all, like, stand alongside him and support him? You know, like, I don't want him to die. Like, he's a ass person right now, but, you know, I still love him as a human being. Yeah. And I went to the church, and there was a pastor's, or there was like a meeting that was set up with like the church staff and his dad, and you know, that's my husband. It was about him and everything, and so I wanted to be in that meeting. So I show up to be in that meeting, and my father-in-law wouldn't let me in.
I am violently invested in this story, and I really want to know where everyone ends up. So there is a part 2 video to this coming shortly. Stay classy out there, stay sassy, and see you tomorrow.